Welcome to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, and I have a great friend and a special guest and a true entrepreneur, Joe Colontonio. Joe, welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's so nice to see you again, Dale.
Oh, of course, Joe. And you know, she and I talk all the time, and she's doing so many wonderful things. So pay attention. This is going to be a good show, and you're going to have to write down all the different things she's doing.
Yeah, this is going to be a double trouble show.
Exactly.
When we show up, there's double trouble and double disruption. But that's what good coaches do, right?
That's exactly what good coaches do. So as always, I like to start, I love the origin story. So where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And how did you get into doing what you're doing?
Wow, let's see. I love to acknowledge that I started in a family business at about 5 years old, sharpening pencils. That was my job. I was chief pencil sharpener.
I love it.
My grandfather had a junk shop in Canton, scrap metal and paper and newspapers and such. And my mom, who was a pioneer for women in the 1920s, worked there for him. And so once she had kids, we went to work with her. So I was chief pencil sharpener.
Excellent.
And it was a tough job. There was no electric. It was you
back in the day.
Yes. And then if you had that mechanical pencil, that was really high. That was really, a specialty.
That was high tech.
And then we'd get our change and we'd go up to we used to call her the store lady. I don't really even know her name. We'd go up to the store lady and we'd get our candy, and that kept us quiet for the rest of the afternoon. Eventually we had to move up to like sweeping floors. Didn't really love that as much. Yeah. There wasn't even a pay raise with that, but so I'd love to just share that because it was a family business, and I really think it's there that I learned at a young age the importance.
Now, what happened to the family business? As you know, I run a show called Family Business World, so I love family businesses. So I hear that. And the other thing I've learned is that when people start out sweeping the floors, their love for the business is so much deeper.
Yeah.
And so now what happened? Did they sell the business? Or
I love to tell this story.
Yeah.
So my mom was a little tiny, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Italian lady. I have no idea. I think she was really brown-haired, but she used to say, as you get older, you got to get lighter. That was her rule. But her eyes were real. And the stories that I hear is that the male truck drivers, big guys used to be trying to pull these, I guess, 40-foot tractor trailers in and back in.
Right.
And when someone wasn't doing it right, she would go out there.
So she was
pull them out of the
Spitfire. She was a Spitfire, huh?
Pull them out, right?
Wow.
Get in the truck and do it herself. Back in that 40-foot tractor trailer. So I love that. That was a good story. And she also used to say that she had a crooked finger from the scales back in the day when they would drive the tractor trailers in.
Right.
They still do now, but they would go on literally a scale because where they left one location with weight, what they said the weight was, you would double check the weight when you got here. So she'd be moving. She had the bent finger here. She'd be moving the scale, and she'd say, and Pop used to say, "Don't move it too much to the right," meaning don't lie about the weight. But
that's funny.
Yeah, that was a few generations ago.
But you learn that's the energy, and that women can do everything that men can do, and a lot of times even better.
Yes,
and so
she was very well respected, and it was nice to see that.
But that explains a lot about you: your energy, your drive, and your focus. That really is an important influence.
When she passed away,
this is your grandmother?
This is my mother.
Oh, your mother. Okay.
When my mother passed away in 2013. She was well respected in the industry because she had been in it so long, and there were not that many women, and hardly any. I mean, she went to college. She did things that others didn't do. And at her funeral, there were 3 boys that came in towards the end, men in their 60s. And they came up and they introduced themselves to me, and they said that they were I think I can say their name. Can I say their name?
Yes.
They were the Blackshear brothers.
Okay.
And they expressed their condolences, gave me a hug, and they said, "Your mom actually taught us to read."
Oh, wow, really?
Our grandparents, our parents worked there, and she would be in the office area.
Wow.
And the kids could come. She let them
daycare.
Daycare in the 1920s.
Right.
And she taught them to read and write.
Wow.
Not that they weren't going to get that in school anyway, but they were there, and they were little kids, and now they were grown men. So that was
and
that was nice to see.
That influence that she did.
Well,
and the compassion.
You know, your book, Influence.
Right. Yeah.
The influence and impact that she had from the life that every life that she touched.
Yeah.
So for us, you know, we need to look at what's our legacy.
Right. Exactly.
What's our wake that we're leaving behind.
Yeah. And what's our raison d'etre? What's our reason for being?
Exactly.
Why are we here on this earth?
So, you know, and how do we look at that?
Yeah.
So she was the importance for my mother. So, you know, where are the next steps for me? The importance was education. She used to say that no one can ever take your education away from you.
Right,
so it's very important to get an education.
Exactly.
So she pushed my sister and I to go through college, graduate school. My sister went from college to law school.
Oh, wonderful.
And very much so just an entrepreneurial mindset.
Right.
So
now, where'd you go to school? Where do you go to college?
I went to Immaculata University.
Wonderful, yeah.
All nuns, all girls.
Really?
Italian Catholic girl. Had to make sure, you know,
Right.
she was protected wherever she
safe,
went, right?
She was safe.
By graduate school, I kind of shook a little bit loose, and I
Right.
did get to go to St. Joe's University in Philadelphia, where there were boys.
Right.
But my undergrad was in economics and business.
Wonderful.
Now, honestly, there were only 3 majors at the time because we're
really?
going back a long time ago, right? And then I went on to graduate school and got my MBA in marketing, and had a job working for the university. I did launched one of the first executive MBA programs in the country at the time, going back a while back. And along the way, met a colleague, and we started a business. We started corporate event planning and promotional products.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful.
Which developed into a full-blown marketing agency.
Okay.
And then along the way, I realized that you can do the best promotions, the best marketing, the best advertising in the world.
Right.
But if your people aren't the best,
it
right?
comes down to people.
You can't execute the business strategy.
Yep.
And along the way, by building a strong business, build on relationships, as you do.
Right.
You really started to hear, well, what were the real struggles? What were the real challenges?
Right.
And then that prompted me to do some postgraduate work in leadership development, executive coaching, probably what brought you down that path as well.
Absolutely.
You know, the mechanics of human capital, you know, how the people are a company's most valuable asset, yet they're not always on the balance sheet.
Well, and they're not, and one of the things I say is that technology has made people more important than ever. You know, and so this idea of being able to interact, and we also say that if you go to an entrepreneur and you say, well, I can give you money and mediocre people, or no money and great people, the smart ones will take the great people because they'll make money for you. Mediocre people will lose money for you. So it comes to people. So you've really made empowering people and training people your life and business. And so you had that business, and you know, tell me more about how did you get into training? And
it did very well. So eventually I found myself, you know, not selling physical product anymore. It wasn't about, you know, the ad buys. It wasn't about the promotional products. It wasn't about the graphic design, the logos. It really became, for me, it was a transition from making people look good on the outside to making people feel good on the inside. And I think
that's well said. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I think for me that was that transition into coaching, and when I saw how valuable that was, I really saw that any strategy could be executed with the right people.
But let's stick on that because we as a society have gone the opposite way. It's all about what your social media sees. It has nothing to do with who you are on the inside.
Right.
And we need to understand that substance matters.
It really does.
And matters now more than ever. So people with substance will do even better because so many people are, well, I'm looking good, I'm getting, my body changed and so on, and that's all superficial, meaningless stuff.
That may get you in the door,
right,
but it's not going to keep you there.
It's not going to keep you there.
Exactly.
And so you're working. So talk a little more about some of the things you're doing.
So eventually, I began working with leaders one-on-one, doing a lot of executive coaching and consulting. I still continued to hold on to that marketing piece because that made me feel secure, right? That's what I had done for the first 18 years of my career.
Right.
And eventually began doing more and more consulting and less product development, tangible widget delivery, right? And then I began working with leaders and C-suites, and my name sort of just got passed around because I wasn't really marketing for that, because again, I was still this promotional design group. I was still, and eventually shifted into the coaching and consulting, and then hand in hand with that, naturally was what they would say is corporate training, right? So when you're looking at your population, once they have an awareness that they need to change and you get the buy-in for the desire to change, you have to look at knowledge, you have to look at skills. Like, where are the weaknesses? Where are the breakdowns? Where do you have to have the breakdown before you have the breakthrough, as I like to say?
I love that. So let's go back a little bit, because again,
that's what got into training. Just so you know, that was the piece.
No, it's a perfect,
where you
it's
say
a natural fit.
You have to move into the population, and I do like to call it corporate education because of mine and your relationship, is that it really is education. It's a transformation and a change. Not a training to get a result for one day. And it's not sustainable.
But I want to go back, because the audience may not know the difference between consulting, coaching, and training. So I like to make sure that, because there are people out there that say, coaching, consulting, what is that? So talk about what coaching and consulting is, that difference there.
And let's not leave out the therapists as well.
Right. Yeah,
because that's a big, so you and I are both ICF credentials coaches.
Yes.
And so we are bound by the ICF Code of Ethics and the Foundation Principles. And so we
and the ICF is the International Coaching Federation.
International Coaching Federation, yes.
Yeah.
And so, so the difference between consulting, to answer your question directly, consulting and coaching is basically that in that situation, the consultant is considered the expert, and the consultant is giving you advice, making recommendations and suggestions for what you should do.
And that's something people are comfortable. Okay, so you're a consultant, you're giving people advice, you're telling them what to do. Right? Okay, but coaching is this nebulous thing that they don't understand. Is that just like consulting?
So in coaching, we assume that the individual, you are the expert in your life and in your business. And the coach, we are there to really facilitate your greatness. Get out from you what you need, help you to come out from behind yourself and show up in your organization and in your role as truly a leader, break through whatever's holding you back, and get you to that next level for peak performance. But it's a collaboration between the coach and the coachee. It's a very, it's a relationship based on mutual respect and trust and safety. And it's really, I really consider it a sort of like a sacred environment, like a safe space.
It's very much. So we're going to take a quick break, but I really want to stay on this coaching, because Joe has created this extraordinary coaching program and is an extraordinary coach herself. So we will be back right after this commercial break.
Aloha! Joe Silva here with Kukua Technologies. I'm excited to see you on Tuesdays on Morning Coffee for our tech tips.
Let's face it, lawyers get a bad rap. I'm Erin Brucey, host of Legal Breakdown, where we dissect legal topics for the everyday viewer, with a mix of interesting guests to talk about current events and hot legal topics. Let's work together to make the law accessible and relevant to everyone. Catch us every week on RVN Television.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, and we have Joe Colontonio, and we were just talking about coaching. And it's Joe and I do much of the same thing: coaching, consulting, and corporate education. But one of the things that coaching is really, more and more people are understanding the value of it.
Yes.
And so you were talking about, and we talked about therapy too, and coaching and therapy. So say a little bit about that.
Yes, I mean, part of what I feel is important is to really delineate between all of the delineate coaching out of the other modalities as well.
Right.
And a lot of times there is confusion among between therapy and coaching, because we do see a lot of both non-credentialed and credentialed coaches doing work in the life coaching arena. And so it's just important to know that, you know, therapy is by a trained practitioner that is licensed in the state and educated in the state that they are in. The easiest way that I explain it to my students is to say that therapy takes you from dysfunctional to functional, and coaching takes you from functional to optimal.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's a great,
way to think about it. A well-trained coach should be able to tell in the first session, first or second session, whether a person needs to be referred. And so I encourage every coach to have 2 or 3 referral sources, licensed clinical social worker, family therapist, psychologist, to refer to.
Wonderful.
It's also okay to work alongside a therapist as a coach, as long as we stay in our lane. The danger is when coaches that are not properly trained, not that it's intentional, but they just build conversations in a way that may not be the healthiest.
And it can be damaging too.
And it can be damaging.
Yeah, it can be damaging.
So I always are on the side of that.
So let's go. You know, these shows always go so quickly. So I want to make sure we talk about. Joe is very active with the International Coaching Federation. You know, what's your role here in New Jersey?
So currently I am president-elect. In January I will become president.
Well,
board
congratulations.
president.
Wow,
Yeah,
a big
thank
deal.
you very much.
A celebrity, and you've started an ICF certified
I want to
coaching
say I
program.
have an awesome president-elect coming up from behind me, so I'm happy that she's behind me, and we're gonna turn things on its head this year.
Well, that's what you do. That's what you do.
Two powerful women in this role, and see what we can do.
If you want something done, and so say a little more about the International Coaching Federation for those that don't know it.
Yeah. So the International Coaching Federation is really the gold standard. I feel like I know that you know this, but for everyone out there, the International Coaching Federation is really the gold standard in the coaching industry. We have about 50,000 members worldwide. Wow. Not only are we world renowned for education, but we have a credentialing system, we have an education system. So what we are seeing more and more is that organizations and businesses are requiring or asking for that ICF credential. It's really, really setting you aside from I don't want to be disrespectful, but the people you can go out and take a 2-hour class and they say you're a coach. Very, very different than the coach training that we're doing at FDU with you, and that the ICF gives its approval on. So we're an international organization. We have coach education in the U.S. and in almost every other country.
It's the major leagues of coaching, and the major league of executive coaching and coaching of every type.
I really believe, and the reason that I try to mention the International Coaching Federation whenever I'm speaking is because that's part of the reason that I developed the program was to differentiate ICF credential holders from non-credential holders. And I know that you know this. Our credential really walks in the door before we do. Our credential says something to that individual and that company before we already step in.
It says how much you're committed to it.
Your commitment.
Are you a professional?
Your education. Your code of ethics. And there is, there's a nice reciprocity among the coaches in the organization of sharing information.
It's very collaborative.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I like to say, and again for the audience who may not, having done much of the consulting for much of my career, is that coaching is really asking questions. Consulting is, and so when you pull it out, and I know when you first do it, it's like, well, I'm asking you questions, and you say, well, I didn't do anything. I just asked them questions. They said that was the best help you could ever give me, because I never knew I had it in me. And it's such a rewarding feeling when when people have that breakthrough.
Yes.
It really is. And so you are really, one of the most extraordinary trainers of coaching in the country. And so the FDU program, the Ignite program that you have, tell the audience about that program, because I want to make sure we get that in before we.
So the Ignite Excellence, my Ignite Excellence in Coaching program is actually housed at Fairleigh Dickinson University, the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which you
I'm
are
the
executive director of, right? So it's a great partnership.
It's been a wonderful partnership.
Yeah. And we run the program in the fall and in the spring. We have as you know, we have an application process. Right. And the program is 135 to 145. We go a little over, Dale.
Mm-hmm. You get extra for the money.
You get a little extra.
And 135 sounds like a lot, but it really isn't a lot. I mean, it goes by quickly.
What's the?
It really is.
Tell
valuable.
me. It's so. Tell me the athlete that said, it was a football coach that said.
What
Is it the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? Is that little extra?
Yeah. I know. I kind of know what you're talking about, but it's very true.
So it's that little extra, right? And once you come through our program, we have a growing alumni base. Yeah. They are staying together. They are creating masterminds. They are collaborating. They're doing projects together. They're getting clients together. So it's 135 hours with a little extra, This semester, I have to say, we have a student that between cohort 1 and cohort 2 picked up a corporate client.
Wonderful.
Corporate client. So most of our students, we encourage them to, there's a certain amount of, do you want me to go through the curriculum of what's
included? Yeah, talk a little bit about, but one of the things I want to tell folks is that, the program pays for itself. All you need is really one or two clients will pay for the entire program.
Yes, and that's
if you're at the point of your career where you're retiring or you're an executive that has done a lot of this, it's a perfect program to really go through. So first, give your website, the Ignite website.
Ignite Business Partners with an S.com.
Perfect.
And I guess you could / just do ignitebusinesspartners.com and you'll find us. And if you happen to be on the Rothman site, they'll redirect you there. The program is 135 hours. It includes mentor coaching. It includes complementary coaching, peer coaching. We have group coaching. So you have about 50 to 60 hours of experiential coaching in one way or another before you leave the program. And we encourage our students and help them to get clients during that process.
And Joe won't say this, but the people I've talked to have said it is transformative. This program, it's not just you're going through, it's not like a class that you just go through. It's really transformative because as a coach, you get deep. As a coach, you really, you go below the surface. You help people go below the surface. And so people who've been through the program really say, I'm thinking about life differently. I'm more excited about life. And so it really is something that those of you out there should really consider. So definitely go to and you can make a very nice living being a coach while helping people.
And what we're seeing is a significant increase in coaching being done in businesses and organizations throughout COVID because people are transitioning back to work. There are challenges. Wellness is not something that's shunned. Emotional intelligence, we're talking about it. People want to work in a workplace. The old saying, happy workers are productive workers, is an oldie but a goodie. And so they spend the majority of their time at work, and they want that to be a healthy environment.
And corporations are now recognizing mental health as a critical part of the success of employees, whereas before they said, just get over it.
Well, they're also recognizing that 60% of why people leave their jobs is because of their boss. It's not because of the organization.
They fire their boss, not the company.
So we need to train leaders, which is a lot of the work that you're doing as well with coach leadership. To show up as in the new leadership regime, showing up with all of the emotional intelligence skills, soft skills, communication, engagement, and that's really what's creating healthy organizations with healthy conflict and engaged employees that are thriving.
Because they're empowering employees. Instead of the old command and control, it's really empower.
And I will say, Dale, that we have a lot of C-suite individuals that come through the program. We have had a few PhDs and EDDs as well. individuals in transition, but we've also had some individuals that have come through the program just to go through that personal development process.
Yeah.
They want to increase their communication. Maybe they're in a sales or an advisory position and they feel a need to connect more with the client.
Yes.
Although everyone that does come through does end up, because I'm a big pusher of the International Coaching Federation credential, but people do come to it for better reasons. If you're a leader in an organization and you want to increase your skill set, we saw that with one gentleman in between.
Absolutely.
So it's very transformational, and everyone is. Everyone has had a great experience. We've been getting amazing responses. So please come join us, check us out. We're going to have some information sessions, right?
We'll have some information, but also the skills that you have are useful for your own family. I use it for my daughter. Instead of saying, my daughter Ashley, do this, do that.
She may be watching.
Yeah, well, I want her to, because I want her to use the coaching skills and again, just to really understand and help them understand.
Yeah. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
When you coach your daughter, does she play along? What does she say?
Yeah, no, she listens. And again, part of it is really getting her to really come out of her shell and really talk and think about stuff.
So I was able to do it with my daughter until she got to college, and now she says, "Mom, stop coaching me."
Well,
she can tell by the third question.
But she's the freshman. She's a freshman, so she's.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Sophomore year, she may
you
not
haven't
listen.
gotten to the point where she says, "Dad, are you coaching me right
exactly.
now?"
Yeah, I think sophomore year she'll do that.
So that's why I was saying,
now it's working.
Don't tell.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will tell you, she's going to kill me for saying this. When I hear her communicating, I hear her using the language of coaching.
Yeah.
And making that connection. And that's a great feeling as a parent that
and that's a residual benefit, because my daughter, same thing, is that they're hearing that instead of this directive, this idea of really, and she's a people person to begin with. So, well, this is great. We're almost at the end of time. Is there anything else you want to kind of share with you? I mean, you're doing so much, and we're just scratching the surface. But this coaching program is transformative.
Yeah.
We want people that are thinking about that. Check it out, and it's remote. It's remote. You don't have to.
It's remote.
Yeah.
We're eco-friendly. Everything is digital download as far as manuals. We're not wasting paper. We're not hurting the environment. We have someone who went through the program in the studio. She used her iPad. She had some program on her iPad where she actually took the notes. The young kids, they had to. She had like a notebook in her iPad with a pencil and the whole thing, which was great. Marley, you're not helping me out now, so I don't know what I know. OneNote.
OneNote. Yeah.
It's a great program, and just the only thing that I would also say is that Ignite Business Partners, my organization, as Dale does, we both do go into organizations and do the same type of transformative work. So which is, we got to start doing some more things together. Really consulting, coaching, corporate education. Really change agents, positive change agents. So that's what I'd love for you to think of when you think of Ignite Business Partners.
Exactly, and as more and more companies, and so if you're the CEO of a company, you're watching this, it's certainly worth looking at the transformative process. And so, well, Joe, we're at the end of time. This goes so quickly.
It always goes so quickly.
So I want to thank you so very much.
You are very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I just love all the things that you're doing. And then
I want to come back.
We'll have you back because there's so many other things we can talk about.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, I want to thank all of you for watching Entrepreneur State of Mind, and we will see you next week.